and good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you, the good people of the tube. Hope you're well today. Hope you're feeling grand and all's well in your world. Welcome to review, everybody. I have an itchy ear. Sorry, 1 second. A Star Trek bug from Khan has crawled in there. That wasn't very nice. I think that was my hair emigrating into my ear. Anyway, yes, welcome to a review on the Marshall Code 100H, everybody. If you've seen the first video, the unboxing and first impression video, you can see I wasn't overly impressed by it. Has that changed? A little bit. And I have to say a little bit because I have to be honest. And I've got to say I am not sold on this amp. It sounds good. It does sound good, but and I really like some of the sounds. I want to really stress that. Not all of them. Some of them have just been approximations and the best I can do. And that annoys me. But it's been okay. But my gravy. Has this amp been stressful or what? I'll get to something in a minute. But I'll explain something quick before we get into kind of the features. Because there's a million videos out there going into details. But I want to give you my impressions of this thing. Because... In the unboxing video, I threw the instructions away jokingly, saying, "Oh, we don't need them. We'll be fine." Within 5 minutes of the camera going off on the first impressions video and me messing around on this, I was like, I need to know how to do this. I need to know how to do that. I need to know how to do this. I want to know how to do that, and I want to know how to do that. So I thought, oh no, I'll have to get the instructions. Which, in all fairness, most of the time I've never... in all fairness, like we all... Well, I think we're all guilty of it. Most of us don't use the instruction manual. We just have fun. And just see what it can do. I just have a bit of a giggle. But I was having an absolute nightmare trying to get this amp to sound the way I wanted it to sound. And it was just not doing it. And I was like, oh my god! I was pulling out what little hair I had. And I was starting to sweat in a very bad way. And I was getting annoyed in the fact I couldn't do certain things. And... I wanted to copy and paste some patches that I'd found I'd gone through all 99 patches. I'd found a few I'd liked. I wanted to copy and paste them into an order so I could do them for the review. I had no idea how to do copy and paste. I had no idea how to rename things. I had no idea how to do certain things with this amp. So I thought, okay, I'll go and consult the instruction manual. So I got the instruction manual out. And it was one side of A4 paper, which told you nothing. And I was just like, where's the rest? Where does it tell me how to do things? And it doesn't. The instruction manual does nothing. It tells you what things are, and that's about it. It tells you, this is your EQ. That's your volume. And pressing these turns things on. And that's about it. It really is bad. And I'm not impressed by that in the slightest way, because if you get to refer it to another amp, even the Marshall MGs here, the Marshall MGs came with a very big instruction manual. It was a good, 15, 16 pages of what everything did and how to do everything you can with this amp. Same thing with CR120. The Boss Katana booklet is huge. The Boss Katana booklet is an A4 booklet, and it's just full. You're just like, my god, how many things can I do? The code book is one side of A4. The other side of the A4 just says thank you for buying the code. And it's just like, what? You're not telling me how to copy and paste patches. You're not telling me how to get really inside the amp. You're not telling me what this does, that does, this does. So I had to go on Google. I had to go onto forums to find out how to do things. And I was like, that isn't good enough. That is not good enough. It's not in the instruction manual. I have to resort to what other people have found. And it's like, that's not, your instruction manual should cover A to Z. Not A to A. So, anyway, negativity out of the way. Does this sound good? Yeah, ish. I'm not overly impressed by the quality of sound. This is mad. It feels strange for me to be so negative about a product, because I'm not an amp, even not a product. Well, it is a product, but you know what I mean. I'm not under. I'm actually really disappointed. I'm a bit I'm a bit upset, if I'm being perfectly honest. I really wanted this amp to be good, and as a result, after this video, it's going back. I just don't want it. I bought it hoping it would be everything people said it was, and it is none of those things as far as I'm concerned. I couldn't get the sounds I wanted. I like dark sounds, and this amp doesn't do that. It's bright and it's fuzzy, and there's a constant war going on between treble and bass. But after 5.5 hours, I finally got 10 presets that I'm happy with. That if I had to go to a gig tomorrow and this is all I had, I'd be a happy bunny. But 5.5 hours of trying to figure stuff out was just absolutely stressful beyond. So I will say, this amp does sound good, and it looks cool, and it's got loads of things that I don't understand how to use because I'm a technophobe. I don't understand. If I can't plug straight in and just twist a dial and that's what it is, I get confused. And this amp is so in depth, I just can't get my head around it. So anyway, I wanted to do a fairly long speaking introduction to this. I will put timestamps in the description box below so people can skip to the playing and the sound examples, because I'll talk about that a bit more in a bit. But I wanted to get out the negativity before we get into the positivity, which is some of the presets, some of the sounds I've got in here I absolutely adore. The one at the beginning in the intro, the soundscape one, I love that sound. But out of all the sounds I've got, that's the only one I'm going to miss. When this amp goes, that soundscape one's the only one I'm going to miss. I'm not going to miss any of the others at all. They're good, but they're not going to make me go, oh, I wish I had that sound. The soundscape one, yeah, but the rest I'm not that fussed about. But anyway, yeah, I've got a very negative attitude toward this amp because it's just not inspiring me to want to do anything with it. Like I say, I'm sending it back. I just don't want it. I don't want it. I'm not going to use it again. If I kept it, I don't know why I'd be keeping it, if that makes any sense. It's not for me. This amp does not work for me in the slightest way. And which is a real shame, and like I say, it really upsets me, and I hate to be negative about things, but it was going to happen one day. I was out of how many videos I've done, 700 or whatever videos, I've only been really negative about a few things because there's always something in everything, and this amp is no different to that. I have found something in this amp that I love, definitely. In the 11 presets I'm going to show you in this video, they're the sounds I love out of this amp, but they're not exactly what I want. I love the sounds, but they don't make me go, oh my god, I'm getting, I'm keeping this. It doesn't make me do that at all. It's not like the Katana or the CR120 or the Marshall MG or the Red Stripe, which unfortunately I had to sell because I needed money, or any of my other amps. I feel the same way about this that I do the new MGs. They're okay, and if somebody gave me one, I wouldn't complain. But at the end of the day, give me one of these. The MGs, the older MGs, or the CR120, or the Boss Katana, or anything. My Carlsberg amp, my Master Reverb, my CR60, or whatever. This would be like the other MGs to me. It's the final port of call. But anyway, so yeah. Positivity though. Let's get positive. Okay, so positive. Oh, gravy. The tune is good. Oh my god. The tune is good. The effects are good. The distortions are okay. Clean sounds are immense. The clean sounds in this thing are amazing. But the effects are a bit lackluster. I'm getting negative again. I'm sorry, everybody. Renaming patches and editing patches and all that is... If you buy this amp, just be prepared to spend a lot of time with it. I don't doubt there's some people who will plug into this thing and it'll sound amazing straight off the bat and it's exactly what they want. I don't doubt that for a sec. But I personally think if you want to get into the nitty-gritty bits of this amp to get really exactly what you want tonally, you have to spend a long time with it. Like I said, it took me 5.5 hours to get 11 sounds that I was kind of happy with. Not sold by any stretch of your imagination. With the CR120, it took me 5 seconds. The Marshall MG took me 5 seconds. No, probably not even that on either. Boss Katana took me about 5 seconds to find a sound I wanted on each individual thingy. 5.5 hours you know, it took me 2 hours to get a clean tone and a distortion tone that I was sort of happy with. And that's just too much messing around for me. I want to be able to plug in and I want to be able to play. I don't want to be fiddling with the amp. I want to be able to set it and forget it. And this just doesn't do it for me. And also the volume on this thing is silly. It's a 100-watt amp, but it's not very loud. Like I'm shocked at how quiet this thing is. It could be the way I've got it set, but it's very, very quiet for a 100-watt amplifier. I'm like, what? Really? That's all it's got? I've had it on 10 and I was just like, really? Anyway, but yeah, it has got some really cool things. I ended up using the Silver Jubilee model for everything. I tried all the other models. The only one I liked was the Fender, like a clean California. I think it's got like California clean. But other than that, I didn't use any of the others. I didn't like the JC100. I didn't like the JTM. I hated the Plexi sound. It was just this fizzy nothing. I was like, I don't know what Plexi you've modelled that on, Marshall, but it sounds like no Plexi I've ever played through. You know, it was just fizzy. It was just like, it was... Actually, I tell a lie. If you plug into a Marshall Plexi and gun the treble and the presence and the bass and leave the mids out and just like go into the high treble channel, don't jumper it, and crank it to the top, that's what this sounds like. But that is not a classic Plexi tone to me. Like, you know, speaking from it, like, you know, I've been lucky enough to play through a lot of old Plexis. You know, I am beyond lucky. I don't know what I've done in my life to deserve that opportunity, but I'm very grateful for it. But as a result of that, it's like I've heard what those amps sound like, and I've felt what they feel like, and that is not it. That is not a Plexi. I'm sorry. I'm getting negative. I'm wound up at this amp. I'm upset at this amp. I really wanted it to be something it really isn't. Anyway, I think this intro's gone long enough. Let's get to some sounds. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn the room mics off and just let you hear the close mics, just to give you a better approximation of the sound more than anything. It sounds really sterile in the room. So it actually sounds better just through the close mic than it does the room mics and the close mic. I don't know why. I don't know if you can tell I'm a bit despondent, if I'm being perfectly honest with this amp. So I'm going to go through my 11 presets. First presets I'm going to show you are a clean, a chorus, a distortion, and a lead tone. So it'll be clean, distortion, and then a lead, and then I'll show you... clean, distortion, and a lead, and then I'll show you a chorus sound. And then I'll take a break, and then I'll talk about the other sounds I've got. Because I've got some inspired by sounds. But these first 4 sounds that I've got are what I would use if I was to kind of like to go gigging this amp. So, without further ado, enough rambling. This is way too long an intro, but I wanted to get the things out of the way. So let's get to some playing sounds. Okay, so there was a clean sound there. There was distortion, kind of rhythm, kind of sound, lead-ish kind of tone, and then I had a lead tone which was a boost in volume as well. So hopefully that came across, a boost in volume, and the boost in the lead tone had a delay on it and quite a bit of reverb as well to make it really epic and really nice and singy. And one thing I do really love though is this, which is really cool with the lead sound. When you go away from it, if you switch patches, the delay keeps going. It trails off into the other patch, which is really, really cool. It doesn't just go whip, and cut off. But the soundscape one does. So if you do the soundscape one and then change patches, it just goes whip. And I wish it didn't, because it'd be nice to kind of flip between and do that sound on sound Dave Gilmour thing. So have like another patch set up on the other side to kind of a little bit more kind of compressed, cleany kind of thing, so you can do those real cool Dave Gilmour things, but you can't. It cuts off, and I don't really know why that is. I've also got a few other things I'm going to talk about at the end of the video about this sound, but yeah, they're my kind of main 4 sounds. They're the ones that kind of took me the most. All those just those 4 sounds probably took me in the region of about 3.5 hours to 4 hours to get. The fun ones, which I'll get to in a minute, the inspired by sounds, took less time. I don't know why. They just did. They were, I don't know why. But by that time, I'd got to know the amp. After about 3.5 hours, I got to know the amp and understood how to, manipulate it the way I wanted. So the inspired by sounds you'll hear in but a second. They were very, very easy to they're a lot easier to dial in after that. I'm still not 100% happy with them. But I got to a point where I was playing with it so much, I was tweaking all the parameters so much that I just got fed up. And I got tired. I just got really tired, and I had to... I don't know. I was spending more time tweaking the amp than playing. And that, to me, is just a no-no. It's like, I should be able to set the amp in the space of a couple of minutes, 10 at the most, and then just set it and forget it. And that's the way it is with any of the amp, but all the amps that I've got here, all these amps that I've got here that I've plugged into, it took me 5 seconds to get the sound that's in my head kind of approximated in that, if I'm plugging straight in or with pedals, and away I go, and I don't have to worry about it again. The settings on my Marshall MG haven't changed since I had it. The settings on my CL120 haven't changed since I had it. This thing, I was just tweaking. I was like, no, because I just want to play. I don't want to have to keep messing with it. Okay, anyway. So, next sound we're going to go on to. So, there's the cleans and distortions. I've got them all named, so I don't get lost because I'm a bit stupid. Right, next sound I'm going to go on to is a John Frusciante-esque kind of clean, which is a big kind of important sound for me because I always want my clean tone to sound like John's. So, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to plug in the DS2 and the Ibanez Wah. Because I know some of you out there would like to know how does it respond to those two pedals. Really well. Really, 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 really well. But I don't feel the tone it's close-ish. But again, there's this weird battle goes on between bass and treble in this amp. I don't know if it's because of the cab I'm using. I don't know what it is. Is it the fact I'm using single coils? Is it in my leads? Is it just my sound isn't compatible with this amp? I don't know what it is, but But this sound, it took a while. I mean, the clean tone that I had was kind of close to John's tone anyway, it always is. But because I want him to be John Frusciante. But and there's nothing wrong with that. But quite a few of us do. But yeah, this took a bit of tweaking. But so what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to plug in the Ibanez-Wah and the DS2, and we'll do something like Scar Tissue, and I'll do some solo-y stuff and mess around with the DS2. The DS2 is on flat out. The Ibanez-Wah is on flat out. Yeah, like I said, I'm using the Silver Jubilee patch inside the code because that does seem to be the one that sounded right to me. Okay, so without further ado, let's get into some John Frusciante-esque kind of sounds. Okay, so it's really cool. It really responds nicely to the DS2 and the Ibanez Noir. The Ibanez Noir does have it's a bit finicky, but it's not horrific. It still does the kind of John Frusciante, you know, that big. You know, he still does that thing, which is really cool. So, and that's all that matters to me. And the DS2 just sounds really lovely and smooth. There's no sharp edges. There is a smidging of a volume jump though, and that kind of. But in all fairness, it's not horrific. It's not kind of like, oh my god, that's unusable. No, it's really nice. So if you kind of do. You know, there's a bit of a jump there, but it's not horrific. You know, it's actually quite nice. It's a nice volume jump where it's just enough to kind of kick your guitar solos into kind of like, you know, to cut through. And the same with the Ibanez Y. It doesn't boost it in like over the top like, you know, some amps do when it's too clean. If the signal's too clean, the Ibanez Y and the DS2 rebel. The signal from the code is just enough to kind of keep them under control. I'm sweating, everybody. But it's really cool. It sounds wicked. And I feel that's a pretty close kind of John-esque kind of clean. Like... Ah. I like that. It sounds quite nice. I don't know if that sounds better. To me, listening back, just comparing before the VR, I thought everything sounded a little clearer just through the close mic. You kind of got a bit more of a character of a sound, and hopefully it might come across that weird bass and treble fight that's going on. I was hoping that would come across. I don't know if it will, but fingers crossed. So, where are we next? Dave? Where are we going? Okay, so the soundscape sound is the one you heard at the beginning of the intro jam. That's just loads of reverb. It was a hall reverb, and basically everything was just cranked on the hall reverb setting. Still on the Silver Jubilee setting though, in there. The amp setting here. Where are we now? Oh yeah, pedal board. I'm going to plug my entire pedal board into it now and show you some different sounds, show you how it responds to loads of different pedals and kind of like, you know, where we go from there. Okay, so I've got to say, this thing handles pedals so well. It's such a cool amp for pedals. But with 99 presets, the ability to have a 4-way foot switch that does multiple things, and the ability that this amp does have, it just seems like a total waste to just, like, you know, use one patch for a pedal board. It just seems like a waste of an amp. You know, it's funny. It's weird. I don't know. What do you people think of a tube? What do you think? But it does. I mean, that sounded really cool to me. I love the sound of this amp with my pedal board. It sounds really, really cool. It does rebel a bit against the reverb in the Zoom G2, but it's because the reverb's on the foot switch, the foot controller. Anyway, I can control it and kind of get it to behave. But yeah, okay. So we're back straight in. All sounds up to the John Frusciante one and pedal board one. Up till now, I've just been straight into the amp, no pedals. John Frusciante one had a DS2 and the Ibanez Wah. The pedal board one was a Zoom G2, a Marshall Governor, a Marshall Jackhammer, Ibanez Wah, and a DS2. But now we're back to just straight into the amp, and I've lowered the volume, haven't I? Yeah, I had to lower the volume a smidge from my pedal board. It just made it a little louder. So yeah, where are we now? So yeah, now we're on to the Inspired by Sounds Mark II, if you will, because the John Frusciante one was kind of an Inspired by Sound. But Mark II now. So this amp's got a Univibe built into it, and Univibe is one of my favourite sounds of all time because of Jimi Hendrix. But funnily enough, it made me come up with this sound. Okay, so there was like a Bridge of Sighs Univibe sound. It sounded more like the Bridge of Sighs Univibe than Jimi's Univibe. It was just something more, I don't know, Robin Trowery, really, than just than Jimi's. There was just a slight difference in tone, but you can still pull off, Machine Gun and stuff like that. And the sound after that was kind of like a kind of a Voodoo Child bluesy kind of Jimi Hendrix cranked up plexi before the fuzz pedal, so you kind of get that kind of the Foxy Lady thing and the Killing Floor thing. It also works really nicely for Rory Gallagher, kind of like low gain Rory, like Taste era Rory and early, Rory's first solo album, that kind of thing. It works really nice with that. I've got to say, the amp cleans up really nicely. It's got a real nice kind of clean up, which is really nice. But that sound is kind of like, I called it Jimi's Blues, because it's got that kind of... Whoa, what's going on here? Interesting stuff. That's me. Okay, also you probably noticed that my guitar's actually fretting itself out. That's because the action's dropped. I think in this weather we're having in England, it's dropped. Okay, I'm going to have to redo that at some point. Yeah, I can feel it. The grub screws have gone all loose on me, and the B and the E string have dropped, so they're choking out. Just on that one fret though. Just when you bend up a 15th to the 17th. Okay, so where are we now? So that's that. The next tone we've got is kind of like a it's like a Jimi Hendrix kind of live tone, a bit more kind of gained up with the fuzz pedal on, but still got a lot of clarity. Okay, so it's got a little bit more kind of gain, a bit more kind of, not really fuzzy, but it's kind of like that kind of, it's modelled on Jimi's sound at the Miami Pop Festival, where he's got a bit more clarity in his fuzz than normal there, and I really like that sound, so that's what I kind of modelled that one on. So it's just got a little bit more kind of like, a bit more clunk, less kind of fuzz, so to say. I don't know what was different on that gig, but it just sounded really cool. Okay, so where are we now? Okay, so last setting on the Strat before I switch to the Les Paul. I've got a Stevie Ray Vaughan kind of sound to do. So let's do that. Okay, so final sound that I'm going to show today in this video. I think this video gone for way too long as it is. So I do apologise if it's way too long. Final sound today is going to be modelled on Peter Green. So I've switched over to lemon drops that you hear like humbuckers. I've got to say, I do feel that most of the presets inside this amp were designed for humbuckers, not single coils. Excuse me. And designed on a humbucker guitar. Just because all the presets tend to work better with humbuckers than they do single coils. Most of the presets with a single coil sound fizzy and nothing key. So yeah, let me show you this sound. It's like a Peter Greeny kind of Les Paul kind of tone. Okay, so there's 11 sounds that I've been able to get out of the Marshall code that I really like. Like I said, it's been a stressful journey. It's like I said, I don't like amps where I have to tweak them more than I can play through them. You know what I mean? I like to be able, like I said at the beginning, I like to be able to set it and forget it. And this amp doesn't really do that for me. And not to say it's not a good amp, because I'm sure, and I know there's many people out there who love these things, and that's cool. But for me, it just doesn't work at all. I will not be sad to see it go. And that's not an easy thing to say, because I love everything I play through. But this one, I just haven't bonded in any way, shape. It hasn't spoke to me from day one. Plugging in on the first impressions video, the first two sounds, the JTM45 and then the Fendery Clean, Bank 00 and 01. I was like, hey, yeah, I'm gonna love this amp. And then after that, it just kind of went, ah. And I was a bit miffed by it, to be honest with you, and it was just a bit like, ugh. And then playing with it for as many hours as I did, I was just like getting fed up and sick and tired of having to, it's right, but now the bass isn't right. Oh, it's right, but now the treble isn't right. Now the mids aren't right. Now the presence isn't right. Now the delay's not right. It was just this constant war to try and get things right. And then once one thing changed, the other thing changed, and it was just like, my brain can't handle this amount of stress from an amp. It was driving me balmy. But I'm glad I got at least 11 sounds. That if somebody said tomorrow, you got to go and do a gig with this amp, you know, I would be happy to go. I'd be more than happy to gig this amp. But it wouldn't be taking the place of my old MGs, my CR120, my CL60, my Master Reverb, or the Boss Katana, or any of my other amps I use. It just wouldn't. Hence, I just don't like it. It's confusing for somebody like me. I mean, I'm a bit of a technophobe, so I'm not very good with technology. And this amp is just, it's just over the top for me. The only thing I could compare it to, but digital-wise, is the Boss Katana. But the Boss Katana is so simple. It's a plug-in and play amp, and if you don't want to dive in deep into its kind of, you know, it's crazy depth of it, you don't have to. You can just get what you want out of the top panel. This thing, you've got to dive in. You have no choice. You can't just set it on here and then have the sound. You've really got to dive in and kind of like, you know, start messing with the amp model, the power and the cab. You don't really have a choice, because without the cab and the power and the amp, I reckon this amp sounds, I don't want to say it, but I'm going to, awful. The cab and the power buttons are the saving grace of this amp. I don't think the amp models sound that great, apart from the Silver Jubilee. But again, this is only my opinion, everybody. I'm not speaking for the world of a majority. I'm just speaking for me. I don't like this amp. It's not for me. It's fizzy, it's bright, there's a war going on between bass and treble all the time, there's this rumbling all the time. Bear in mind, on all the presets you heard, the bass was off, and the treble was pretty much off on pretty much every setting. I tended to use on the cab, is it the cab? No, sorry, not the cab. Is it power? Yeah, when you're holding the power switch, there's two kind of settings, which are presence and resonance. And I ended up using the presence for everything. I used the resonance was off, and I ended up using the presence to balance the amp, bass and treble wise. And it never got to where I wanted it to be. It was always just 75-80% there. It was never the next one up, where it's like, with my other MGs of the CR120, like I said, it was just plug in and that was it. I didn't worry about it again. And so much so, I haven't changed the settings on those amps since I got them. They're set, and you know, I don't have to worry about it. They're set and forgot. And this amp was just constantly just battling me. Like the sound I wanted, it was just like not doing that. It felt like it was doing that. So anyway, yeah. So Mr. Code is going back because I'm not. I don't want it. I don't want to keep it. It's not an amp I would ever use again. It's really not. It will not take place over any of the amps I've got. It just won't. One thing I will say though is the tuner inside is really good. If you press these two end buttons here, you get a tuner. You got a tap tempo, which is really cool. I don't like the fact you got to press two buttons to get tap tempo. I think that's a bit silly. You know, one is better. Trying to get two, because you always kind of get one finger behind the other. So trying to get the exact tap tempo with two fingers is difficult. I don't know. Maybe you can use one. I don't know because it's not laid out in the instruction. The A4 piece of paper, it doesn't tell me what to do. But there's a little kind of thing under the mod button and the delay button that goes on them. I don't know if that means both, but I don't think it does. But I don't know. I don't know. It's just not, to me, it's not a very intuitive amp. It's not very well thought out for people like me who are technophobes, who aren't very good with technology and working through LCD screens. You know, I like to like tweak this, and this, not that. You know, so yeah. Once you get into it, it's very easy. Renaming patches is really cool as well, which means you never get lost. You know, you can name things to how you want and stuff like that. It's really, really cool. But it's, you know, and the foot switch is good. Oh, I didn't mention if you saw the first impression video, there's a gap between when you're on the foot switch and you switch from clean to distortion. There's a split-second gap where the amp goes silent, where it's switching over patches, which is unusable for live. But I found a way around it. If you use the same clean patch, say you've got 0, 0 is your clean, and then 0, 1 you want for distortion. If you use 0, 0 as a clean patch and then go to 0, 1, and you use the pre-effects, which has distortion pedals built in. It's got a governor, an overdrive, and a distortion. And the distortion and the overdrive are just fizzy nothings, but the governor's a really good model. And I'll get to that in a sec. But you don't get that jump. You don't get that split-second cut-off of sound. So if you use the same clean patch and then just add a distortion pedal from the pre-effects mod you'll hear, then, you know, you'll be fine. It won't do that weird split-second jump. And I've got to say, all the distortions you heard today were mostly from the governor model in the pre-effects. All the distortions. Most of the clean tones were just from the Silver... they are all from the Silver Jubilee. All the clean tones you heard, the bedrock of that sound, is the Silver Jubilee model inside the code. I didn't use anything else because I just couldn't find an amp model that I liked. I didn't like them. So I ended up just using the Silver Jubilee. And that just worked for me as much as it could work for me. But again, there was this kind of weird sound I didn't like in there, and it was just getting a bit on my nerves. But anyway. But yeah, so like I say, there's a lot of things you can do with this amp. It's really cool. It's got a headphones socket. It's got an input for, you know, for an MP3 player. It's got a USB out, which you can use to record out of the amp as well. I personally think it should have been a quarter-inch, you know, it should have just been a jack lead to plug into your computer, not a USB, because... You know, I don't know. Most guitarists just have jack leads. Why would you have it as a USB? It seems silly. On the back is very bare bones. You got one speaker out, so you don't have the ability to run any other speaker amp other than one, which I find is a bit silly considering it's a 100-watt amplifier. And you've got an effects loop send and return, and that's it. You got a preset edit. I mean, there's a million videos out there on people showing you the ins and outs of these things. But I don't have any desire to go into them. I really don't. I'm really sorry, everybody. It's probably like the worst review ever. But I don't. It doesn't do anything for me. It does not do anything for me. I don't feel any of the sounds. I don't feel I played very well in this video because of it either. I felt I played really badly. Because I wasn't inspired. I couldn't feel the sounds. The only sound I felt is when I put my pedal board in. And the amp was just set to... clean, so I'm basically not even using the amp. I'm just using it for its power. I'm using the pedals because I just have my jackhammer on for clean, and then I have my governor and my DS2 for distortion. And you know, I'm not really using the amp's potential. I'm just using it for its power. So and that was the only time I really kind of felt I was connected to the sound. Other than that, I felt like that slight disconnect, which you can't have, which I don't think you can have. It makes you, you know, I don't feel you play best when you feel disconnected from your sound. It's why your sound is so important. Your internal, you know, your sound you hear is so important, and you need to find a way to get that. But when you can't get it, it makes it difficult, and you're not always going to be able to get it. It's as simple as that. You know, I had a Q&A question in one of my Q&As where it's like, you know, constantly using other people's backline. How do I get, you know, any tips? It is a case of you have to approximate. You're never going to get it 100% the same as it sounds through your gear, but you can approximate. and get on, and you know, and get on with that sound. But it's hard work. But the Code is one of those amps for me. It's a compromise amp. It's never 100%. It's not like the MG's obviously L120 to me. It's always a compromise. It was a compromise sound where I was like, that's not what I want really, but it'll do. It'll be fine. You know, I'm more than happy with it, so to say. So anyway, the Marshall Code 100, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this video. I think this is like the first negative review I've had for a long time. Just show I can be negative about things if they don't do anything for me. And it's really rare. It's really, really rare for me to not like something. But like I say, there is something in everything. And I found 11 sounds in this thing that I love. And but the only one I miss is the Soundscape one. But that's easy replicated. But, you know, more than happy to go and gig it if I had to. But if I was given a choice, I won't be buying another one. You know, once this has gone back, I won't be looking at the Marshall Code series again. I won't, because it just doesn't do anything for me. I do not feel inspired by these amps in any way, shape or form. I don't feel it just doesn't work for me at all. It doesn't work for me at all. So anyway, hope you enjoyed this video. It's gone off way too long, but I really hope you enjoyed it. I do apologise for playing. It probably wasn't very good. And hopefully you can hear some of the things I was talking about in the sounds of this thing. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Like I said a million times already. So yeah, have a great morning, afternoon, good evening, everybody. Have a great weekend. And yeah, I'll see you on Monday for another video. Yeah, I'm a bit upset. I'm not a bit upset. I'm very, very upset. It really, when things don't work out, and I want it to work out, it's very upsetting, as I'm sure you all know out there. When you can't get something to work for you, you really want to work for you. It's really upsetting. So yeah, I feel a bit downtrodden by the Code, to be honest with you. It doesn't do anything for me. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you again soon. Have a good one.